we are in New Orleans, and I have the beautiful and brilliant and talented lady, Olga. And Olga, I could go on about your acting, producing, etc., but tell me a little bit about yourself and how you became so talented.
Well, where to begin, I'm not sure. My family's from Austria, from Innsbruck, Austria, and I'm an only child, so I was born in San Francisco, actually. And I'm the only quote-unquote American, if you will, in the family. So my next of kin is actually in Austria, in Innsbruck.
Really?
Yeah. And so my parents had only originally wanted to be here for a couple of years, and then they ended up staying longer, and then that's how I came to the world. And primarily grew up in San Francisco Bay Area, and then I left there sort of on the journey of music, although I started music very early on when I was 4. But
What did you do in music when you were 4?
What did I do?
Right.
Well, my grandmother first gave me a recorder, which I still have.
Beautiful.
You know,
Right.
recorders. I play it
Kind
actually.
of a flutish-looking thing.
I play it on a couple of my records, actually.
I know what a cool
Yeah.
recorder is.
Yeah, and from there, somehow I don't remember exactly how, but we ended up getting a piano, and I had a pet rabbit who was killed by a neighborhood dog, and that was my first experience of the blues, if you will. I was pretty devastated, and I sat at the piano and I played the piano for hours, and it was in tribute. It was a opus, if you will, in tribute for my rabbit. And at which point, somehow it was figured out that there was musical talent, and I needed to get into music. And so I started taking piano lessons. I think I was about 4 or 5, maybe 5 at that point. And I remember, actually, this is the other thing, is I remember being in kindergarten one day, and there were some 6th graders that came down. It was before class started, and they were just sort of messing around in the kindergarten room on the piano, and I was hiding. I was hiding behind like a blocker, or like a chair or something. They didn't see me. And they played Heart and Soul. What I realized later on was Heart and Soul.
Right.
But I didn't know. I was only 5 years old or whatever.
Yep.
But I heard them play it, and when they left, I went to the piano and I played it. And I proceeded to teach other kids in my class how to play it, so I could do the treble part or play
Right.
the bottom part, because it's a duet on the piano.
Right.
And I think
Two-finger
that was
duet,
sort of the,
basically.
that sort of was the catalyst of, okay, well, we need to get her into music lessons, and so I ended up getting a music scholarship and studied piano and violin and voice, sang in choirs and that sort of thing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What kind of choir music have you sung?
It was like a lot of classical music, a lot of, when I was a kid, I went to a private school. I was really, really lucky, a private school in Hillsborough, California called Nueva. It was for gifted children, so you had to be tested, and I was lucky to get the music scholarship. There was a Yehudi Menuhin scholarship, so it paid for the lessons. And then as a group, as a class, we would sing Mozart or what do I know? Just random classical pieces
Right.
for like
Brahms Requiem.
yeah, just but things that there were different. There was the sopranos, there was the middle sopranos,
Right.
and then there was the altos, and there was always a lot of people in the soprano section, especially the girls, and all the boys had to be they were in the alto section, and there's usually nobody in the middle soprano section. So I usually had to do the middle soprano section because I was good at singing harmony, and I was a strong singer, so I could kind of keep because there'd be like only 5 of us compared to like 15 in the
Right.
sopranos and like 10 guys, right? So
Right.
we had to keep the middle soprano represent,
Understood. When I was in high school, even when I wasn't in choir,
Yeah.
I got pulled into singing the choir.
Exactly. Well, I think it's really good training, and
Right.
it's really good experience, and you learn a lot of songs, and you sing a lot of things. Like I remember one was like Flow, Dan, You Ebb and Flow. I can't remember who it's by for the life of me, but classical pieces, I know some Mozart we did.
And you
that
also
sort of
got
thing.
out of class
Beethoven.
sometimes too, so that was like one of the benefits of singing.
Yeah, we could do field trips.
Exactly.
Yeah, we would go sing at like the Exploratorium, or we'd go to the Fairmont Hotel and sing there for the guests or the tourists, that sort of thing. It just depended. Or like tea like cotillion or something like that. We'd sing at that, or Christmas music and that sort of thing.
So, what are you currently doing with music?
Well, such a loaded question.
You've got so many careers and so many things
I know.
going on. It's like, before I forget, I want to ask you, what's your call?
Yeah, I'm on this weird journey with music. I studied blues for a really long time. I lived in Mississippi with an old blues woman, and
Really?
I'm also a blues music educator. It's something else that I do. I do still play blues. I do still play out time to time. It's just become a little bit more sporadic. I'm actually playing violin at small weddings now, which is good because I stopped playing for a really long time. Unfortunately, I went into public school as a teenager, young teen. My parents divorced, and I unfortunately allowed myself to be made fun of to the point where I quit playing violin.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I didn't play for a really, really long time. And in more recent times, I started playing again because now with this whole film industry we have down here in Louisiana, they're always looking for a violinist, and I'm kind of making a really long story in like a 30-second piece, but
you're getting to where I was actually figuring you'd go originally.
Yeah, what happened was that, through Jessie Mae, this old blues woman that I live with, I produced a record on her and like a documentary on her, and there was a fiddle player, and we became friends, and I messed around in his violin. He was like, Olga, you have a talent for this. You need to start playing violin again. And so I got his violin. It's an old German one.
Oh, wow.
And in more recent years, started teaching myself how to play Irish fiddle music.
Awesome.
A lot of Irish drinking songs. So at these weddings, I play a lot of Irish fiddle music and some Beethoven and some Bach, and it's like paid practice really, because these people are so nervous to get married, and they're so worried about doing their vows and that sort of thing. They're not really paying attention if I hit that note perfect or not, or if I'm playing the song like 3 times in a row. Like, they don't really notice this, so it really works out well for me. It's like I'm building up my confidence for playing in front of people, and getting my practice in. I'm getting paid to do it, and it makes people happy. It makes me happy. And it's led to parts in movies.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say, haven't you played in a movie or two?
Quite a few. Yeah, I just did Badasses 3 last month, and
that just doesn't sound like a violinist
done
movie.
G.I. Joe 2. Well, there's always a scene. There's either like a banquet scene or a wedding scene or a bar scene.
I get it, but it's like Badasses with violins.
It was a wedding scene. Yeah. So,
if you add saxophones, I can see it. Badasses, a movie about sax and violins.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, a G.I. Joe too. Okay, there was a huge banquet scene, and there was like an orchestra scene, and they needed a violinist. I had to learn a solo, 2 solos in a day.
Wow.
Right?
Right.
And I learned it by ear. So
really?
Yeah.
No music.
No. In fact, when they finally got around to giving me the music, I had a panic attack because I was like, well, I can read the violin music, but I had already got it in my head by learning by ear and figuring out how I'm going to do this, that now I saw the sheet music, it was sort of like, oh, well, it's a little different. Like, there's some things, and
but you got it good enough for the movie.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely did. And so that was like a huge thing for me, a confidence booster. And through that led me to Django Unchained.
Right. Is that where you met Quentin Tarantino?
That's where I met Quentin.
Very cool. Anyhow, what did you do in Django Unchained?
Well, what happened is that they were having a special party on set for Harvey Weinstein, who came, and they wanted a violinist to entertain them while they had dinner.
Really?
Yeah, and so they called me, and I said, okay, well, I've never really played. This is kind of before the whole wedding thing started, right? It's like, I haven't really played a whole lot in front of people, by myself, but
sure.
Why not? I hope they like Irish drinking music.
Of course.
Because that's what I know a lot of right now.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, you play whatever you want. And then I got a call about 3 hours or 2 hours before I had to be there. It was probably about 3 hours before I had to be there. And they said, well, there's a special request. One of the actors, I later found out was Christoph Waltz, requests a piece by Fritz Kreisler.
Okay.
And I'd never heard of this composer before, Austrian apparently. More from the 1900s. You know, I'm familiar with the other guys from prior to that. But anyway, so I was like, okay, well, I'll see what I can do. And I went online and I found a song that I thought that, okay, well, I have 2 hours to learn this.
All right.
And I've never quite done that before, and I have to perform it in front of Quentin Tarantino and like Harvey Weinstein or whatever. So I learned it, and as best I could in 2 hours. I didn't quite get to the end, but I got through, you know, 2/3 of it. And I thought, well, if they're not happy with that, you know, that's the best I can do in 2 hours with no music and nothing. So I went there, and they had me sort of on a platform, and they had me mic'd up, and I was kind of a little nervous, of course, because there's microphones and like platform, and they shipped in a $1,300 ham from Spain, and it was like this big sort of banquet situation. And since I was on this platform, I was wearing these high heel shoes, and instinctively I always tap my foot to keep time, whether I'm playing guitar or whatever it is. And I realized that my foot tapping was like, it was like playing a bass drum. It was so loud for me that it was distracting me, so I took off my shoe. I'm like, obviously my foot is not going to stop tapping. So I have to take off my shoe. So I took off my shoe so I could keep time, and I played, and next thing I know, I look up and everyone's gone. Nobody's there. And I'm like, wow. Okay, well, I hope they like it, you know. And then over comes one of the executive producer with Harvey Weinstein, and oh, it was so great. We loved it so much. It was great. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And packed up my violin and I left. And then I got a call later, invited to another party they were having, and that's where I met Quentin. And he asked me, so, oh yeah, the violinist. So tell me about this technique you have. You know, what's this technique you got going on?
The barefoot drumming.
What had happened was, and I didn't really pay attention because I was so like focused on what I was doing, and I was trying to play the song, you know, I had to learn, and I was just trying not to mess up. And someone had my sheet music propped up on a chair, and so I was foot tapping, and somebody had walked by and then picked up my foot while I was playing and held the music in place. It kept on playing until I finished the song. And apparently that was very impressive to him. And I didn't know, you know, it was just sort of like, what do I do in the middle of a song? I got to finish the song, you know. So he just thought that was really great. And he laughed really hard when I told him that I had no technique. I had to take off my shoe because my foot tapping was really loud and it was messing me up, and I was getting distracted. And then the guy walked by and the sheet music was flying off the chair, and I had to like stop it from falling off the chair. So he laughed really hard. He thought it was great. And then I got a call, and they asked me if I wanted to be a stand-in for Mogi, and I ended up being the male utility stand-in. So I stood in for 5 of the actors on the film.
As the male?
As the male utility stand-in, I had to wear men's clothing. And it was really fun. It was they just thought, you know, Quentin thought it'd be fun and funny to have the violin player come and be the male utility stand-in.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up there. And then I got to also DJ on set with the sound department. I sort of got adopted with the sound department, and Quentin likes to have music in between when we set up shots, because it takes a long time sometimes, and
makes sense.
Might as well play some music, keeps people happy, keeps people inspired. So I got to do that too, because I have a background in radio DJ as well. So I got to do that as well. So it was a really fun job. I'm waiting for the next movie. Can't wait.
What do you know what the next movie you're going to be in is?
Of his, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe a Western, hopefully.
Very cool.
But I'll do whatever.